Hi, my name is Melanie. I'm the director of Bird's Eye View. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to this event this evening, this celebration of the women and non-binary filmmakers behind the women and non-binary led films up for the BAFTA nominees this year. Just to self-describe, I am a white woman in my late 30s with long bleach blonde hair and black top, and I put lipstick on for the occasion. Before we go any further, let me just say that this event is being live captioned. Thank you to our captioner, Julia Jacobi. This is a chance to congratulate and to celebrate and simply to bring together so many of the nominees behind this year's BAFTA nominated films. As I said, I'm from Bird's Eye View. We're a charity with an aim to bring wider perspectives of the world through women and non-binary filmmakers and cinema. Our mission is to advocate for equity, diversity, and inclusion in film. And we do that through a project called Reclaim the Frame and through fostering a community for those who make, show, release, and watch them. So welcome. This evening, we're speaking to filmmakers behind a wide range of films, features, shorts, documentary, animation. This has been a really, really good year for women and non-binary filmmakers up for the BAFTAs. A couple of years ago, we would not have had as many contributors to this evening's panel as we do tonight. And I want to give a huge thanks to all of the filmmakers participating this evening and to all of you at home watching, and to all of the distributors and publicists who've really helped us to make this event happen. So let me tell you who we've got in the room. We've got a few of our Reclaim the Frame supported titles, including Ali and Ava. We've got producer Tracy O'Riordan, we've got the producer Kat Mansoor and cinematographer Magda Kowalczyk from Cow. We've got director Posy Dixon from Keyboard Fantasies. We've got producer Talia Kleinhendler from The Lost Daughter. We will have joining us very shortly Liz Garbus, director Liz Garbus and producer Mridu Chandra from Becoming Cousteau. We've got writer-director Siân Heder from Coda. We've got Margot Hand, producer of Passing. We've got the director of photography, Ari Wegner from The Power of the Dog. We've got director, animator Joanna Quinn from Affairs of the Art. Writer-director Cherish Oteka from The Black Cop. Director Eder Melum from Night of the Living Dread. And director-producer Joe Prichard from The Palace. Let me start. I'm going to come to each of you film by film. I'm afraid no particular order, just to kind of get the conversation going, and then we're going to open it up to a conversation where we can all celebrate each other's work, and then we'll move to questions. I want to start with Cow. Can I start with you, Kat and Magda? This is a film that we've been really, really proud to support through our Reclaim the Frame initiative. And it's a film that allows us to get really close to the subject, to Luma. And yeah, we feel so close to that. I feel like you can read not only Luma, the cow's intelligence, not only her emotions, but her emotional intelligence. And I wonder, could you just speak to how you managed to allow us to feel that closeness through the camera?
This is definitely you, Magda.
So it was Andrea's fantastic idea to follow one cow, and we made a little casting. So we have chosen a cow that shows the emotions quite easily, and we were trying to. When I was filming, I was trying to imagine what I would be doing, how I would be feeling if I was a cow, if I was in Luma's skin. So I was trying to capture not only where she goes, but also what she sees, and stay as physically as close to her as possible. And I'm happy that you and the audience can read what we had in mind.
Is there anything that you'd add to that, Kat?
I mean, Magda did this incredible job, of being so with Luma, that Luma, you just see through the evolution of the 3.5 years and the 94 minutes we then cut together of a friendship, actually, in some ways, and of Luma being seen by us and especially Magda, because she was there all the time. So yeah, she did such a phenomenal job to tell a very brave or a bravely told story about one animal and her experience of life as a dairy cow. And anyone that's seen it will absolutely see all parts of the cow and how close Magda was, sometimes at epically scary distances. For me as a producer, I was constantly worried about her and telling her off at times, because she was so dedicated and so in there with the animal, and the cows are massive. But yeah, she did a phenomenal job, and she spoke cow language in my book. She got that good at it.
Brilliant, thank you. And Posy, I'm going to come to you next, because your film Keyboard Fantasies also really centers in on one character. It's the character Glenn Copeland, who's an incredible musician, and I really admire the film for how you really center Glenn's work. And yeah, I wonder if you could tell us a bit about what it meant to you to share Glenn Copeland's music through your film.
Yeah, well, I think that we were working under quite limited circumstances, because it was a kind of self-funded and crowd-funded project. So we didn't actually have that much time to shoot. And Glenn's story, he's an artist who, at the time that I met him, was 75 and had lived this incredible life. But I was very aware that I didn't want to make a biopic. I couldn't make a biopic for so many reasons. And the whole film was really centered around his music. So I used his music as an anchor to hang on to, as a tool to tell his life story. So his different phases of music that he made contextualized into the time that he made them, and his experiences at that time was actually what created the film for me. So the music came first and the story followed it.
Brilliant, thank you. And just to say, the team are copying links for where you can see some of these films, either in the cinema, if they're in the cinema currently, or online where they're being made available online. While we're on music, Tracy, let me come to you, because music is a really important part in the kind of telling of Ali and Ava. It's a banging soundtrack, and it's a film that's so very much about kind of community and the importance of being yourself in a relationship, and the fact that you bring kind of your community with you. And I wonder if you can talk a bit about what this nomination means to you and the team behind Ali and Ava.
Yes, it means the nomination, it's fantastic, because also Clio Barnard, the writer-director, is a hugely collaborative person, and I use that in the purest sense of the word. She really, this story is based on real people. We collaborated with those people. We've been going to Bradford for 10 years. We've formed these bonds with this community and these people with this community, and formed trust. And there's a real responsibility in telling stories about real people and then mixing fictional elements. So it's a huge, the community that we made it with Bradford, we cast non-actors from Bradford that played roles, and we also had part of the community behind the camera as well, either helping with locations and certain ways of saying things, the dialogue, the rap music in the film. There's a local rap artist called MC Inners. We discovered this song that everybody in Bradford knows the words to. They just all know the lyrics to this song, and that was just so exciting to sort of find that rap artist. But I think Clio wanted to make a love story, and music has always been a very important part of her life. And I think even though the former films didn't maybe have that much music in them, this one from the start was going to have music in it, because the character of Ali is based on a person called Moe Hassan, and he is a landlord in real life. He's an actor and he's an ex-DJ. So that came from the truth of the character, that came from a specific part of the character. And Adil also, who plays Ali, absolutely loves music, is a complete, kind of music obsessive, is sort of sending me links to songs on and sort of bringing you into his musical journey. And Ava, the character that Ava is based on a woman called Rio, and she is of Irish heritage. Her dad did used to sing rebel songs in the English pubs. We play this beautiful song called Grace is repeated throughout, which is a very well-known song in Ireland. So that sort of came from truth, and that's played amazingly by Claire Rushbrook. So I think it was sort of in its DNA from the beginning, that we wanted to use music, and then it came through the real people's stories who it's based on, and then it kind of grew. And I think there was something lovely about that you can that Ali and Ava, as their relationship unfolds, they were sort of sharing their different loves of different types of music, and connecting through music and song. And it's just it's part of the DNA.
Brilliant. And we're really happy to be hosting a Reclaim the Frame preview of Ali and Ava tomorrow. We've got a Q&A with yourself, Tracy, Claire Rushbrook, who, as you say, plays Ava, and the casting director Shaheen Baig, and co-producer Amina Ayub Allen. I want to pick up on the point that you made about collaboration, and how kind of important that is in the making of some of these films. And Siân, I wonder if I can come to you next, because I know that Coda was a kind of highly collaborative process. I want to say congratulations on your recent SAG award, and I know that the performances have been particularly kind of lauded in this film, and it's one that's really kind of making history in terms of representation of deaf people on screen and deaf actors. And I wonder if you can speak to that in relation to collaboration.
Yeah, I mean, that was an amazing night. The other night, I think it was stunning, mostly because this cast were discoveries. I auditioned people and went out and looked in the deaf theater community and went to Deaf West, which is this amazing theater company in LA, and found Troy Kotzer there on stage and Daniel Durant. And so to build that cast and then to have them honored in that way was a really incredible moment. And yes, felt very historic. Yeah, I mean, I felt a huge responsibility going into the project. I was an outsider to the community. I think whenever you're coming in to tell a story about a marginalized community that is not your own, there's an intense feeling of responsibility of, you know, how do I surround myself with people that are going to be true collaborators who have a voice in the process and can feel like they can call me on my own hearing perspective when that comes up, or look at my script and find things that might be problematic that I might not even know were problematic. So I think from the very beginning, I knew that I needed to surround myself with people who could kind of have a very strong creative voice in the process. So, and it also meant like I started studying ASL from the moment that, but even before I started writing the script, I knew that I wanted, you know, a large percentage of the movie to be in sign language, and I needed to understand the language. And so I started studying, and then through actually my first ASL teacher, who Elliot Page introduced me to, Hilary Back, who is an amazing actress herself. And she became my first teacher, and she sort of started connecting me into the deaf community and helped me find my ASL masters, Alexandria Wales and Ann Tomasetti, who were kind of helped me with the translation of the script, but then also really were my eyes on deaf culture as well, and kind of looking at everything from, you know, how the family's furniture was set up in the house. I mean, I remember Anne walking onto set with Marley Matlin, and they looked at the living room furniture, and my production designer and I had set it up, and they were like, no deaf family would ever put their furniture this way. Like, you would have your couch facing so that you could see the entrances and exits to the room. Deaf spaces are very circular, so you make sure that you're always in conversation and in eye contact with each other. So, I mean, I had an incredible education, honestly, in the journey of writing the film, and then in the journey of making the film. And I'm continuing to have an education as we take it out in the world and watch how spaces are or aren't accessible. You know, even being on the awards circuit, I'm now like, oh, wow, really? We're not going to have an interpreter on stage, or those clips aren't going to be captioned, or, you know, it's like, there's a sudden opening and awareness of how ableist and, unchanging our world has been. So when I think about the making of the film, I mean, we had to come up with our own process, honestly. I mean, from the beginning, where I was writing in a language, you know, that was never going to be heard. So I knew that whatever words I was choosing were going to become a purely visual experience. And so from that moment, for me as a writer, to be crafting the language of the script, but then knowing it would be this very visual discovery as I started working with my ASL masters and my actors, and we started making sign choices around the lines, and to production, where we had to figure out how communication was going to work on set, and how hearing artists and deaf artists were going to work together, and we were going to have free flowing communication on set. So you could have deaf crew and deaf actors, and everybody, you know, my camera operators were learning to sign so that they could work with the actors. And my AD loved sign because he could just keep talking through shots. And, you know, you keep communicating. It's the best set language anyway, by the way, guys. Like, it's like you can give notes to each other, and the grips were really into it because you could like tell, you know, say like, oh, I need this over here in the middle of a shot. So it was sort of an amazing process. And it was like the ASL culture on set started to kind of, you know, bleed out into the crew. And the crew started kind of taking it on. And I watched this journey with a lot of fear at the beginning. I think there was a lot of trepidation coming in from hearing crew members of like, oh, how do I tell Troy to move over? Or how do we call action or cut? Or, you know, where do the interpreters need to be? And we really were all just super creative and in it on set and figuring it all out. And then just the process of taking the film out in the world and honestly putting open captions on the movie and having hearing and deaf audiences come together and for the first time have that moment and that experience of the film in real time, I think was also a very powerful thing. So I don't know, it's been a real journey. I think I felt humbled going in of like knowing what I didn't know. And I still feel humbled by that, but it's been an incredible process.
Thank you. Yeah, and congratulations again. Congratulations to all of you. All these incredible achievements. So I want to come to another film where, the performances have been so key and have been kind of really like lauded through many nominations, and that is The Lost Daughter. We've got producer Talia here. The film shows its great kind of courage in exploring guilt surrounding the expectations of motherhood. It's something vastly underexplored in film and life, and I wonder how it feels to be kind of igniting such important conversations among audiences.
Well, I think that's been really for us the biggest privilege with this film is having, realizing how surprisingly radical it is to say something so simple like motherhood is complicated and difficult and, not always what you think it's going to be. And I mean, it seems like that's something everybody should know, I guess, but I guess, it's something that really hasn't been explored. And I think, I think that's what motivated us and Maggie to do this film from the beginning, because we felt like it was kind of telling something very real from all of our experiences as women and as mothers that surprisingly is not on screen as much as it should, as much as it should be. And kind of getting these kind of reactions and kind of a lot of articles that have been written about the film, and just people reaching out to us saying, we feel seen in this movie. We feel like our experience is on screen. That's, been the biggest prize for us. I think there was this article in the Sydney Morning Herald or something like that, where someone was saying, her friend texted her and said, "Did you see the movie?" And she said, "Yes." And she said, and like kind of a little cautiously, "And did you relate?" To see if like it was okay to talk about, these experiences. So yeah, I think that was really what we set out to do. And that's been really the best thing about this movie. And I hope that, there should be more stories like that on screen about everyone's experience. So. Absolutely.
And congratulations. Margot, I'm going to come to you. Let's talk about Passing. So for numerous BAFTAs, again, it's been recognized for its performances as well as its direction. I just wonder if you can tell us a bit about what this nomination means to the team behind Passing.
Yeah, I mean, so much. I don't think any of us here or any of us in the industry really make movies to get nominated for things. But when you do, when people show up and acknowledge all the hard work you've put into something, it's very meaningful and exciting and stressful when you have to, pick out clothes to wear to the BAFTAs, which is what I'm currently doing. But for Rebecca, who's obviously British, to be kind of recognized in England by the BAFTAs is, especially meaningful for her. For Tessa and Ruth to get nominated, for all of us, it was such a hard movie to make, as were, I'm sure, all of these films. It was a really long, hard journey, and you put a lot of work in. You call in every favor you've ever accumulated in your life, and and then you get to this point where you're talking to all these wonderful women, and you're going to award shows, and people are watching your movie, and it's the kind of best version of it. It's not why you do it, but it's certainly such an exciting and element of it. It's just, we're thrilled. We can't wait to go.
Oh, thank you. Ari. So Ari, as the director of photography on The Power of the Dog, congratulations.
Thank you.
You are really making history as the first woman BAFTA nominated cinematographer, and also congratulations on your recent award at the BSC, the first woman to win the category in the award's 70-year history. So yeah, really making history with this. Thank you for being here. And we actually have a question that's come in via the audience registration asking, Ari, how did you approach the source material from a visual perspective? Because it's based on a book, isn't it, of the same name? So yeah, where did you take it from there visually?
Yeah, it's such a I think first of all, thanks for all your kind words. It's I'm sure as the rest of you might relate, it's quite a surreal experience we're all in. So but no, I'm very, very happy and humbled by all the love we've felt from everyone. Yeah, it's quite a it's hard to describe in a way how the look of a film kind of is created. There isn't necessarily kind of a formula for me anyway. It's very much Jane describes it as marinating. I think it's actually quite good in like just spending time kind of surrounded by all these different flavors of the time and place that you're trying to create. And then I'm a kind of obsessive researcher and reader, so I would read the book over and over, read the script over and over, and kind of try and pull out what are the details in this world that we need to bring, was the unique parts, and then also a huge amount, the visual style. It's not just a cinematographer, it's really the cinematographer and the director's relationship, getting to know someone well enough to know what their preferences are for what they like in terms of lighting. What do they mean when they say dark or wide, all these words that kind of they don't have a strong definition. They're all very personal. And then kind of integrating that with the realities of the actual restrictions you have, be them time or mainly time and money, but it's kind of restrictions that we also need to work within and be realistic, and kind of, how the director wants the day to go. How does the director like to work? Not just what they want it to look like, but how they want to get to that, how they want to capture that frame. What does the rhythm of the day look like, or what does pre-production look like for them? What makes them feel good and safe and be able to do their best work? And that comes down to everything from choosing the crew to working with an AD to support a director in any way that I can, and passing on everything I know about a director to everyone in a respectful way, so that we can, prepare for what I know that they might like, whether it's being very flexible, always having some kind of backup idea, or how fast something has to happen, etc. So yeah, it's a big old question, and there's no one answer. It's really a long kind of process, and then on the day things change as well. So that I don't know if that answered the question, but that's the reality for me.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it does. Thank you. And congratulations again, Ari. Liz, if we could come to you and talk about becoming Cousteau. So your film features like incredible archive footage from Jacques Cousteau, who, as well as being like an environmentalist, like way ahead of his time, was also just an amazing filmmaker in his own right? So yeah, I wondered what it meant to you to be able to like really dig into his archive.
Thank you. And it's so nice to be here amongst all of you whose films I admire so much. It's what a great collection of people here today. And it's just so mind-blowing that Ari, huge congratulations. And it's so mind-blowing that it has taken this long. It's just really extraordinary, and congratulations.
Thank you.
It's interesting because Cousteau was an environmentalist. He was a TV personality. He was also a filmmaker. His first cinematographer, one of his first cinematographers was Louis Malle. So I had this, treasure trove of material, and it was interesting to think about it as a filmmaker oneself. How does one, if somebody had access, I mean, I'm not Jacques Cousteau, I'm not Louis Malle, somebody had access to everything I had ever done, shot, or said, how would I want that looked at? How would I feel about outtakes, things that I hadn't wanted in my films being used in other films, like all of that whole process. It was many, many years to get the estate of Cousteau to allow us to open up their archives. And it was 3 or 4 years ago, Mridu and I were in Paris and first walked into that room with the floor to ceiling cans of 35. I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cans of film, thousands maybe. So it was an extraordinary privilege, an embarrassment of riches. And it was kind of like, it was our Fabergé egg. We were just trying to take really, really good care of it, but also tell a story with a point of view. And I think looking at Cousteau's life in 2019, 2020, 21, you cannot help but be struck by the environmental message that he was talking about, and how entirely prescient he was. So we certainly were taking a very, contemporary eye to something preserved in time. And I wanted to, Cousteau, he never wasted a good shot, right? So we wanted to just be incredibly careful about what we used and what we didn't use. And it was an honor and a responsibility and a joy to kind of reintroduce him to a new generation, and also to create a 3-dimensional portrait of a flawed family man, but then on the other hand, a prescient, Cassandra type of Cassandra from the Greek Cassandra, who's talking of doom, that nobody listens to. To hear that today, it was very emotional and powerful.
Thank you. Mridu, is there anything you would add to that as a producer in terms of what, this nomination kind of means to you and the team?
Sure. If I can talk a little bit about the archival first, that would be just to add to what Liz said. She's the first filmmaker to get access to this archive of materials, and that was incredibly exciting because since he passed away, I feel like we've sort of forgotten him. We don't talk about him in the history of filmmaking. We don't talk about him in terms of our current conversations about climate crisis. But that was an incredible opportunity to bring that story back. So I was very excited to work with Liz on this. I'd worked with her once before. And also just the things that she would want to push on, like, one of the early photos we found before I even went to Paris to look through all the archival films was a photograph of Jacques Simone Melchoir, his wife, and his 2 kids wearing aqualungs underwater. And we were like, every time we see Jacques Cousteau at an early pioneer moment, there's Simone. So she was like, we want to find out more about Simone. And, I think that's just something with a female lens on a very male explorer, adventurer. The Calypso is mostly men. She was the only woman on the Calypso.
By design.
By design, correct. But to really have that kind of lens on it, we discovered she actually financed some of the early expeditions. She was a producer behind the scenes when they were building the house under the water. She was the first woman to wear an aqualung. She was experimenting with her body. She was taking notes when they were creating the diving tables that we all followed, even to this day, that, these men in the French Navy were experimenting with their bodies. There she is in the footage, sitting on the side of the boat, writing down all the numbers. So I think that's something that was in general really exciting, is the themes and the perspective that Liz wanted to look at in this iconic history. But I mean, what it means, I guess it feels like just to be honored with this kind of talent is something I feel like my career's been, I've been building my whole career towards this. And if I can just, it's great. It's just wonderful. And it means so much for the film that people will see it with this recognition, and that, they'll also see that honor. So it's a great privilege.
Leading from Simone's character to another strong female character. Let's talk about Beryl in Affairs of the Art. Joanna, she's back. She's a character that kind of keeps giving. So you're back with another film. Is it the fourth film in the series?
The fourth one, yeah.
Since 1987, this is a character that's taken you from festival to festival, reaped numerous awards over the years. I wonder if you can tell us like where the idea for Beryl came from.
Yeah, well, yes, the first Beryl was my graduation film, Girls' Night Out, when Beryl visits a male stripper. And I made that at Middlesex Poly, where Ida was also a student. So fast forward 1,000 years, and so we've just made the fourth film with Beryl. And I think what keeps happening is that lots of women, particularly Beryl type women, really identify with her as the character, because she's just the ordinary woman who's a little bit large, and she's sort of full of self-doubt, but she has a go, and people seem to really like her character and the optimism. The films are quite optimistic, and so every time we make a film, we say, oh, you're going to make another one. And so we ended up making another one. And then this last one, we had decided we probably wouldn't make another Beryl film, and that we had explored her character pretty fully. But everybody was saying, oh, go on, make another one. So we did. But this time we brought in her family to try and make her character a little bit more multifaceted. We could understand her character more. So we actually had more fun because we introduced her crazy sister and her son and her husband, and so the film is all about self-expression. It's Beryl wanting to become an artist this time, and seeing her family who are all obsessed with things, and so it's a bit eccentric. It's a strange film, but it's funny, so people it's come at a good time, because everything's just so awful in the world that people seem to like it, because it's at least you can have a laugh, so that's good.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, and congratulations. And so then let's go to Ida, because it seems you shared a kind of film called Trajectory, and it's Night of the Living Dread, also a film that I would say is very playful and has a lot of fun. Also been to many festivals, and I know as an animation, how much time goes into these works, and I wonder, just tell us a bit about what it means to you to have Night of the Living Dread recognised by so many festivals and programmers and audiences, and now this BAFTA nomination.
It's just really exciting. I think the topic means a lot to me in terms of it deals with anxiety and self-acceptance, but in a lighthearted and a bit of a funny way. And I think, that's a topic that's just really close to me. And it's always scary making something that you deal with yourself. And just kind of like you're pouring your heart out on the screen, really. And so when people resonate with it, it's always just really lovely. And it's just been really overwhelmingly positive, the response to the film. And going to festivals especially, it's just, it's our celebration, I think, for every filmmaker. And you go and get to see the film with an audience, and if they're laughing at the right time, you're just like, oh, is that amazing feeling. But I think especially for animators as well, because we hide in dark rooms and then we kind of crawl out and then we get to meet people. So it's just really fun. And, it's my graduation film as well. So as a newly starting in the industry as well, being recognized by BAFTA and the festivals we have been so far, it's just been incredible. It's everything you can sort of wish for, really, I think.
Thank you. And Jo, if we move on to talk about The Palace, this is, a film that tells of a goodbye to what one of the contributors refers to as a lifeline of the community. It's this bingo hall kind of community kind of I don't know, would you call it like a social club? And I wondered if your contributors had the chance to see the film, and what the kind of reaction has been among your contributors and, you know, the team behind the film.
Yeah, some of the contributors haven't seen the film yet because I've had trouble getting them to get the link. The link thing's a problem. A lot of my contributors are pensioners, and I talk to them on a landline when I do. I've had one success through a son who's helped me out, but I'm planning a screening in London soon that I'm hoping I can get every single person in. And it was nice because unusually to some documentaries where you might have 1, 2 or 3 key characters, I had one key character and then a host of about 6 other contributors who speak in the film. They are definitely shocked, surprised. I was just a sort of random person who bowled into their lives and started asking them lots of questions while they were hanging out in the bingo hall, and then 2 years later for it to end up here, I think is a huge surprise to everyone, especially me. But it has been lovely for it to be recognized in this way, and I think the reason it has is really just the themes of the film. Like you said, the place was a lifeline of the community. It was a playground to some as well. I learned a lot going in because I thought I knew what this place was, but I realized after spending time there, it wasn't about bingo. It wasn't even about chatting with mates. It was kind of everything to a lot of the aging population and the pensioners who lived in the area. It was somewhere to be all day, from, you know, the morning till the night. It was where you eat your meals. It was where you have your tea. It was where you read the paper. It's where you stay warm. It's where you get out the house. And I hadn't really understood that until I spent time there. So, and then of course it was filmed pre-pandemic. And so a lot of those themes in there about community and togetherness and communication, and the life of the aging and retired population as well, were just thrown into such a different light after the pandemic, that I think it seems much more kind of wasteful now, or sad, that a place like this that was so thriving and really important went.
Thank you. Thanks. And I really hope that those who haven't managed to see it yet really enjoy it. I'm sure they will. So I think it's last but absolutely not least is The Black Cop by Cherish, an incredibly powerful film, really kind of timely, unique insight into a conversation that is like finally really kind of, you know, in the public domain right now around systemic racism and homophobia in the police force. And we get to hear the story from somebody who's you know, kind of from within, from a former police officer. Yeah, and I just wonder how this like incredible reaction that you've had to the film, I guess what you kind of hope for it in terms of how it might further these like really overdue conversations.
Thank you for that. I've been definitely just like overwhelmed by the response. I guess you go into it with all the hopes in the world, and for me it is definitely about kind of systemic racism and homophobia, and shining the light on these issues, and it's become, of course, you know, more timely with the recent report and people kind of being focused on these types of issues. Yeah, it's just incredible divine timing that this film was out at this time. But a main thread for me in the film is ultimately about self-hatred, told through the prism of race and sexuality. But I was really kind of keen on shining a light on the universal kind of themes of self-hatred, and something that we can all relate to in some way, shape or form. And so that was my ultimate aim. I wanted it to be kind of a catalyst for people to understand more about these systemic issues, but also maybe begin to explore or continue to explore their own challenges. So while that was the hope, I also wasn't sure if people would be able to look beyond the race part of it or the sexuality and like see themselves in his story. So I've been really kind of overwhelmed by the response, and people who aren't Black and aren't queer who have gotten in touch to say, I'm not part of this community, but this is how I relate to this, and these are the challenges that I've had. So it's been a real, to have the hope and to put your work out there and to have it met in the way that you intend it to be met has been just a real revelation. It's been a really special time for me.
Congratulations. It's a really, really important piece of work, I really think.
Thank you.
So thank you. And thank you all for being here. This is incredible to have this many women and non-binary filmmakers up for BAFTA nominations in round, let's think of it as like one big table. I just wonder if any of you have any questions or observations, anything to say in relation to each other's work. Posy.
Yeah, sorry. I had a question. Firstly, it's been honestly like I'm nearly tearing up listening to everyone speak. It's just super inspiring. But I was just curious. I watched Passing the other day, and the scene that really struck me as just being like so immaculately directed was the first big dance party that the characters go to together. And I was really intrigued as to, I think portraying a dance club scene in a way that feels so real and exciting is like such a difficult thing to do. And I was just so intrigued as to how you blocked that scene out and how you put that scene together, because I thought it was just stunning.
Oh, thank you. I will pass that along to Rebecca and Edu, who deserve, our cinematographer, Edu Grau, who deserve all the praise for that. But, obviously those were our last 2 days of shooting. That was where we threw a lot of our not very substantial budget on extras, choreography, the band, the location. And part of how we kind of created the energy was because we couldn't really afford a massive space. So we kind of had to jam everyone together and get very creative with angles and how we set up our shots. And we kind of, there's a big overhead shot where Edu kind of very strategically with the megaphone placed everybody so that his frame felt very full. And Rebecca also made every kind of first take of each setup have the live music playing. So everybody could really dance, could really feel it, could really get into the music. And the band was real musicians. They weren't, actors pretending to be musicians. So I think we just kind of, and it was a very celebratory rap moment. So I think everyone was also just very joyful. It was December in New York. Everyone was excited to be inside. So everyone was just, I think it was just a combination of, Rebecca and Edu very, specifically figuring out the angles and the shots that they wanted, and then letting our actors and the extras, and we had some real dancers from Harlem, and I think the energy of it just got translated into the screen in that kind of magic movie way. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much.
Oh man, pleasure.
I have a question for Ari.
Yeah, Siân, go for it.
I loved the visuals and Power of the Dog, and I was struck when you talked about that you're like an obsessive researcher, because I am as well. But I wondered what your research, two questions, what that research looks like what are you looking at? Historical images? Are you looking at other films, or like what was that research? And then also, I was so struck by the scale of the visuals and the scale of the landscape. And I literally was trying to picture you like scouting, like how are you finding those areas and those visuals? And like, for some reason I picture you like on horseback, like riding through the mountains, trying to find those spaces. But like when you're looking at something that's that much about the land and the scale, I'm curious about like your search for images within that.
Thanks so much. And I haven't seen your film yet, but it's like on the list. yeah, often when I go to especially a great location, I'm really like struck by how am I going to capture how like amazing it feels to be here. And that's kind of one of my big, I don't know if you call it anxieties or like responsibilities to how we capture the spirit of this place, what it feels like to just sit here and eat lunch. Like, did we get it in the film? So for us, it was like spending a lot of time in the place and kind of looking at what are the kind of unique elements like that make up the kind of spirit of this, or the like feeling of being here. And it is kind of the scale, and then maybe also the like really wide shots, but also with I guess you'd say like context, like seeing a mountain range against say like a barn or a, you know, something to kind of compare to. We shot a lot on quite long lenses, almost as long as we kind of could for a lot of stuff, which I think helps as well, that it makes that mountain range kind of, it brings it forward so it feels big. And I guess that works particularly well in a place like that where you can really kind of take the camera back as far as you want, because there's nothing like there's nothing like interrupting that line of sight. And yeah, I think contrast really helps. And even there's a lot of macros, there's a lot of kind of wide shots, there's also a lot of macro shots, which also kind of build I guess, yeah, like that spirit of the place, like the grass or a fly on a horse fur. And when Jane talks about it the other day, she was saying like, in many ways, like that is love, like to make those observations. It's like really closely looking, or like knowing someone, knowing a place is kind of really knowing those little, you know, details as much as the kind of whole thing. I guess the research starts with like, if there's a primary material, so like reading the book kind of obsessively. And then, I mean, Jane called me about a year before we started shooting. So I kind of had a choice to make like over that year. Anything else, so I really decided, I made a choice to kind of, I'm just going to do this and actually do it properly, rather than, I don't know, filling my days with other things. And so I went down every rabbit hole available, whether it was the kind of lighting fixtures of the time, everything down to like what kind of the culture around fencing and the politics of fencing, cattle, like breeding cycles, and anything that was like available, I read it. And then also visual stuff like postcards and the diaries of Evelyn Cameron, who was a British photographer working at the time in Montana on a ranch. And we could spend days just reading her diaries, even if nothing happens. It's like, oh, I got up at 5 a.m. and the milk wouldn't churn. And then this animal was sick. And then I didn't get to take my photos, and now it's dark. Like, you could read that kind of stuff for hours, just to, I guess, like hone my instincts, so that when it comes to shooting, you can kind of, hopefully something that doesn't feel like it belongs there will kind of stand out to you. And I think maybe there's a parallel even with us and what you were saying earlier about being a kind of outsider in the world. And in some ways it gives you a special way of seeing, because you can see things that maybe other people don't. But then also the people that are in the world, you don't necessarily notice the things in your world, but both of you notice when something's off. I think as humans, we're really good at seeing like something changed or like something off. Our eyes like really good at that. So I guess you had the amazing access to kind of be able to have that world be alive, whereas us, we really only had to rely on kind of past sources, and also us not wanting to, I guess, use other films necessarily as reference, because we tried to get really to the primary source and find something there that felt more interesting to us than another filmmaker's kind of interpretation that's already like a few generations old.
You needed Magda there because she speaks cow, and she could have.
We did. You really get to know a cow, cows well. We can have a whole conversation about cow cinematography. Yeah.
I feel like there are a couple of parallels in what you've been saying, Ari, to, I wonder if there's anything that in relation to talking about kind of the source material, you know, adaptation from a book. I don't know if there's anything, you know, Margot in relation to Passing, or Talia in relation to this Lost Daughter that you know, that you kind of want to jump in off the back of what Ari's been saying, but also, and I know it's a very, very different film and a very different location, but in terms of kind of rooting filming in the kind of locale and the importance of that place and the kind of responsibility to that place, made me think of what Tracy was saying in relation to Alieneva and Bradford, and that kind of sitting in that space, and that does it kind of, you know, does how I'm filming it feel right? Sorry, I've opened it up in 3 different directions there, but I wonder if anybody wants to kind of jump in off the back of that.
I'll jump in. I think with us, it's interesting because what Maggie, I think in her brilliant adaptation was more trying to stay true, I think, to the idea of the book by Elena Ferrante. You know, to the experience that she was putting out into the world, to the truth that she was putting out into the world. I think about what it means to be a woman in the world, what it means to be a mother, and actually putting it into a different place and culture, because kind of one of the first things that we said when we decided to adapt the book, and that Maggie said, is that she has to do it in English. She has to do it in her own culture, because she can't tell that story that Elena Ferrante tells about a Neapolitan family, you know, on a beach in Italy. So actually, it's almost the opposite situation where Maggie had to take an experience and transpose it to a different place and a different culture. And of course, we ended up in Greece, you know, thankfully, but mostly due to the pandemic. But the culture, you know, and having an American or a British woman coming to a place that was foreign to her, that was something that Maggie felt she could do. Whereas, you know, telling obviously an Italian story was not possible. So the idea was just to get through the essence of the experience. And I think that as much as the adaptation is different from the book, it's very true to that. It's very true to the experience that Elena Ferrante wrote.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Rebecca, she adapted the book probably like 12 or 13 years ago in, you know, about a week, and put it in a drawer for many years. And she kind of adapted it because when she read it, you know, it brought up a lot of unknowns in her own life. And, you know, at that point, the full history of her family's own passing was not known to her. You know, there had been some subtle mentions that maybe her grandfather was Black and maybe her parents passed, but it wasn't something that anybody talked about. So she first adapted it mostly as an exercise in how to kind of process her own emotions around the book and the topics and how it affected her. And then, you know, obviously many years later, when I bugged her so much about directing, she finally gave me the script, and, you know, we set off on the course to make it. She, you know, continued to tinker with it. And I think for her, like Ari mentioned, you know, it's a time and place that's gone to us now. It's obviously, you know, 1929, written by Nella Larson, you know, a well-known Harlem Renaissance author. And what struck us, I think, the most about doing it now was just how modern it all still unfortunately felt, how important these kind of themes still are. Who's passing? How are we passing? You know, obviously Ruth's character is the person most obviously passing in the book, but it was important for all of us to show that actually Irene, Tessa's character, is passing in many more ways. And you know, for her, in terms of the time and place, like Ari was talking about, she kind of went down all the 1929 rabbit holes and you know, the production design and the authenticity, and then kind of took all that information and threw it out, you know, so that emotion and human emotion ruled the day. So she had all the information and then could throw it out and kind of make the film.
I have a general thought about what you were saying about a sense of place, which is that I feel like something that's happened now with production, especially in the States, is sort of these tax incentives that happen in these states. And then all shooting goes to that place, right? So you're shooting Atlanta and you're pretending it's Florida and you're pretending it's all these, but, and sort of all, a new state comes up with a tax credit and everybody goes there. And like what it's done is like take away a sense of place a lot of times, or like a true exploration of a place. And it's interesting. Like I fought so hard to shoot my movie in Gloucester because I wrote it for Gloucester. And I grew up in that, going to that town, and I had all these nostalgic memories. And there's just such a specific texture and flavor that you cannot fake somewhere else. And I think it's so interesting to try to have like place be a character in your film, especially now, because there's so much pressure to like go and make it work in these other, right now we're shooting Little America and we're shooting like Los Angeles for Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And you're just like, oh God, it's like, VFXing in the Williamsburg Bridge in the background and all this stuff. And I love when I see films, which so many of these are here, which just have such a specific sense of place that can be a character in the film.
Yeah, well, a lot of people, obviously the financing journey of Passing was long, riddled with no's. And a lot of people wanted us to shoot it in like New Orleans and Ohio. And we really fought for Harlem, like to shoot it in Harlem. And it was a fight that Rebecca and I kind of went to the mattresses for. Like it became one of the hills, like Black and White and 4-3. There were the 3 hills that we were, prepared to die on. And it took us a long time to find a partner who would let us shoot in Harlem, because obviously New York has an incentive, but it doesn't compensate for the cost of shooting in New York, which is obviously very high. And it took a long time for us to get somebody to come on board who would agree to shoot a Harlem Renaissance movie about Harlem in New York. Like it was a very challenging process.
But you feel it, like it's so important. And I think, I don't know, I just really felt that. And then when you're shooting, you have this incredible freedom, as Ari was saying, to find these details, right? Like you're shooting one boat. I was shooting a boat on the dock, and like real fishing boats are coming in and unloading. And we're like, flip the camera around and shoot those guys coming in and actually pulling in their haul. And like, you just get to have an experience of a place. And I don't know, I think it's good to fight for those things. I'm glad you guys did, because it's the first thing to go. It's like the first big compromise you're asked to make.
We it's the 3rd film we've made in Bradford, and the films are sort of linked. And I think they're referring to it as a sort of Bradford trilogy. And one of the things Clio, the director, wanted to do, she's born in Yorkshire and she was born not far from Bradford, but it was to counter a misrepresentation of this city that is quite common in the media, of like a divided and impoverished post-industrial city. And that was one of the really important things we wanted to do in this film, is show that that's a misrepresentation, and that when we go there, we don't see that. And on the ground, we don't see that. And there is something about, sort of what we wanted to sort of also say subtly is that, there's lots of divisive politics at the moment. And what we wanted to say is that, what we experience on the ground is a sense of community, and a sense of people getting on, and a sense of people connecting, and a sense that, yes, there are different cultures. And yes, we're not saying that there aren't cultural differences, but what we see is actually, kindness and caring and community. And that was really important part of this film. And there are, I think it so had to be from Bradford because the people are from there that it's based on. But the landlords we film a tenant, a Slovakian tenant family. They are actually the tenants of Moe, who's the character of Ali is based on. That's his property, and they're his tenants. And those actors are those non-actors are actually in his tenants. So we used a lot of the locations that the people actually supplied by the people who the characters are based on, and in that we we could be so specific, and there's a sort of real joy in that. But interesting, Clio is very wary of the word authenticity, and she can talk about that in much more articulate terms than I can, because she always feels that, you know, it's always filtered through someone's vision. But I feel that what we wanted to do was sort of show a different side of a place that has been misrepresented. And it was a joy when we screened it in Bradford. You know, half the audience was from the Asian community and half the audience was from the white working class community. And it was just really joyful to see these two, you know, half and half of the audience just watching this film and really enjoying it and laughing at different moments and really seeing their city reflected in a positive light.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry that we're not going to be able to get to everyone's questions, but we've got there's one here that I think is a really good way of ending. We've got 5 minutes, so I'm going to open this up to whoever wants to respond to it. What are your hopes for the next year with regards to taking up and demanding more space as female and non-binary filmmakers in the industry?
Keep on keeping on. I think everyone's here is doing it, and hopefully, you know, bringing up folks who have worked with them and for them over time to continue to empower them and expand the pool of amazing artists out there. And I think, you know, it's a testament to all these breakthrough films and filmmakers and directors and DPs and producers, how much, you know, unexploited talent there is out there to make amazing films that everybody is going to talk about. So it's just about keeping on and bringing others up with you.
I've been on a few courses, you know, about unconscious bias, and it's really made me very aware about how you choose the people that you work with, you know, and you tend to choose people who are just like you. And so it's given me a really good understanding, and also the responsibility that I've got to try and employ more women and work with women, and really making an effort, you know, trying to make an effort to use people, go to people who you wouldn't naturally go to, and, you know, really try and widen your horizons. So that's something that's I've really learned over the last couple of years.
Joanna just said what I was going to say, but it was pretty much the same. Like, women hire other women. So I don't think it's a mistake that female directors hire female DPs, and, you know, crew up, and all my department heads were women. And that wasn't a conscious choice I made. It was just who I gravitated to and who I wanted to work with. So I think it is about everyone lifting everyone else up, and starting to reframe how people view these roles and what they look at when they're looking at a director, a cinematographer, or what they picture in their heads.
And it can be more work, right? Like, it's like sometimes you have to go dig deeper. You have to maybe fight if somebody has fewer credits. You have to, if you want, you know, you have to ask more people for names, especially, you know, to find more BIPOC women, or, you know, I mean, it's just like you have to kind of dig in and do the work. But the more we do it, the easier it gets. So.
And I also think it affects the stories we tell. I think, you know, women tell, I think there is such a thing as women, female filmmaking. And I think it's powerful. And I think that we see things differently and we have different stories to tell. And so I think that, you know, just by having more, you know, by empowering other women filmmakers and helping them make their first film, or, you know, just getting them their stories out there and our stories out there, that's the way to make a difference at the end of the day.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, yeah, empowering more women and non-binary filmmakers. I think we need to end on that note. You can catch some of the speakers, some of the filmmakers here's films on digital and in select cinemas. To find out where we've compiled a list of all the films represented this evening on our website, with notes of where you can see them either physically or digitally in the UK. That just leaves me to say thank you so much. I want to thank some of the distributors and publicists who've helped us to make this event happen. I want to thank Julia, our captioner, I want to thank the Bird's Eye View team, particularly Christina and Joe, who've worked really hard to make this event happen. And I want to thank all of you. It's been so inspiring. Thank you to hear from all of you about your work and your processes as filmmakers and artists. And it's been amazing to kind of share this moment of celebration with all of you, and congratulations to all of you on your nominations and on the success of the films that you've made. And it's just, I've seen each and every one of them, and it's been an absolute privilege. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye everyone. Good luck.
Bye.